Escaped my Ab-sive father, gained independence despite his control, but now I face loneliness and uncertainty in my new apartment. I'm a 28-year-old man. I have no job, no friends, no family. I weigh 550 pounds. I am on SSI disability for anxiety and PTSD and my weight. I have been homeless on and off since I was 16 years old. I am on a waiting list for public housing. I'll be in an apartment in a month or two. This is going to be long, sorry about that. And sorry for any spelling errors. It was very emotional for me to put all of this into words. I was raised by two horrible and sick people. My mother is a narcissist and paranoid schizophrenic. I have had no contact with my mother in 10 years. My father is a pedophile, rapist and has borderline personality disorder. I have had no contact with my father in 2 years. When I was young, my parents kept my sister and I completely isolated from people and culture. I have never played with a child my own age. I never learned to play or socialize with anyone. She would read the Bible to me and my sister for hours a day. We were technically homeschooled, but never learned anything except the Bible. When my parents would leave, they would lock us inside the house, and tell us that if we left, people would kill us or abduct us or corrupt us. We had a small TV in the house, but no TV antenna. It was only for playing certain videos that my parents approved. We could only watch church material and a few old movies. When my parents would leave the house, my mom would take the TV with her and lock it in her van, so we couldn't watch anything without their supervision. My mother also would regularly starve us. My mom was obsessed with health. She always thought she had cancer or something. She would feed me a tiny bowl of plain oatmeal for breakfast and a few leaves of lettuce and a small chunk of tuna maybe the size of a quarter, for lunch. When both parents were home, they'd almost always fight, and they'd each end up in different rooms, and my mom would be crying and my dad would be sleeping. My mom would say dinner was fend for yourself. We rarely had family dinners. I don't even remember them. My sister usually make food for me and her. She'd make me ramen noodles or spaghetti or mac and cheese or whatever for dinner. My dad would overfeed me when he could. On weekends he would take me to the McDonald's drive-thru and buy 12 cheeseburgers and let me binge. This was the only real food that I'd get for the week. My mom would never allow me to eat fast food. My parents would eat their own food, but feed us crap. We weren't allowed to have the adult food. By the way, I thought this was normal until a few years ago. It was pretty common for my sister and I to go to sleep hungry, and then with my acutely developed sense of smell, wake up and, unbeknownst to them, sit at the top of the stairs, watching them eat pizza and take out Chinese food and other adult food. When I was 10 years old, my dad left my mom, and took my sister and I to live with his mother on the other side of the country. To my sister and I, he was rescuing us. We loved him for this. We hated my mom. At 10 years old, I was a horribly weird child. This was in the year 2000. I had never heard any music with lyrics before in my life. My mom would only let me listen to classical music because she was worried that the lyrics in music would corrupt me. I had my dad buy me a CD to listen to music for the first time. It was Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory. I was blown away. I didn't even know people could make those sounds with their voices. This is where my life opened up incredibly. Everything was amazing. My world got huge overnight. TV, music, culture, the internet. My dad bought my sister and I computers. I spent most of my teen years on my computer. It was amazing to me. After moving across the country, my dad divorced my mom and got full custody of my sister and I. He enrolled us in school, and I went into 5th grade, and my sister in 7th. It was terrifying. I didn't even know how to talk to anyone. I had never met anyone my own age before. I didn't know half the words they were using. Everything almost sounded like a foreign language to me. This led to me being really awkward and getting bullied a lot. I ended up dropping out of school when I was 13 and my sister did the same when she was 15. My dad told the school that he was going to homeschool us. He never did. We never did any homeschooling. I never graduated high school. Around this time, my dad started feeding me. And feeding me, and feeding me. I never had a mom to starve me. My dad had no idea how to cook. Every day was like this. Breakfast, 4 sausage McMuffins, lunch at the all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet, and dinner was a bucket of fried chicken. This led to me ballooning to over 400 pounds by the time I was 14. Around 2004, my dad leaves his PDA, kinda like a smartphone, minus the phone, in his car while I'm waiting for him. I decide to play a game on it. While I'm looking through it, I find pictures of my sister. Naked. There were inappropriate images of various female family members, including my grandma and aunt, altered in a disturbing way, along with many illegal and very harmful materials involving children. I felt very confused and scared. I'm 14 years old. I quickly hid the device and pretended I never saw those images. Over the years, I began to notice how my dad treated my sister, and it made me feel very sick inside. I was worried he was hurting her. Last year, she told me that he tried to teach her inappropriate actions when she was very young. 14. And I mean teach her. Physically. My dad was kind of a scam artist. I did not know this at the time. He didn't have a job. What he did was go to desperate people who wanted to get out of their mortgages, and buy their houses, and then rent them out. Turns out he didn't really buy them, He got them to sign a quit-claim deed to him, and they still kept the mortgage in their names, and he would rent the houses for a price over the mortgage. The owners kept the mortgages in their name, but my dad paid the mortgages with rent money from renters. He'd then rent to own those houses to people that would put $5,000 down to buy these houses from him. He did this for a few years until he had 20 plus houses. In late 2006, he decided he didn't want to be in this job anymore. He took all the rent money for October 2006 and didn't pay the mortgages, causing all of the old people he got the houses from to default on their mortgages. Conveniently, my dad decided that we would drive across the country to go on a long water fast together to lose weight. So he drove us out to the Arizona desert in 2006 in a big box moving truck, and we both sat out there reading books for 40 days straight without eating, and only drinking water. Now that I think back to this, I think this was child abuse, but I thought it was good at the time because I lost 100 pounds. While we were out in the desert, all of his houses were being repossessed, including our own house. When we got back, we had nowhere to live. My sister was 18 at this time, and luckily for her, she had moved in with her boyfriend. I was stuck with my dad. Over the next 4 years we would be mostly homeless. Sometimes squatting in abandoned houses, and during winter times this was in Michigan. My dad put on a suit and tie and would rent an office in a run-down office building for the winter to keep us out of the cold. We'd sleep in offices while he cooked up another business plan that would eventually fail. Oh yeah, and I gained back the 100 pounds that I lost during this time, plus another 100 pounds for good measure. In the summer of 2007, my dad convinced his mother to give control of her business, a well-established local pet store, over to him. We'd live in the back of the store. My dad did a lot of renovating of the store, but in reality was inflating the costs of the renovation and taking out loans and skimming cash off the top. By October 2008, this store of 40 years was out of business and all the employees were out of a job, and we were homeless again. So what did my dad do? Did he get a job? Nope. He put on a suit and tie, went to another rundown office building, and rented out an office for $350 a month for some new bullshit business for the next year. I went with him, because I had nowhere else to go. In the middle of winter 2009, his office building was set to be demolished so it could be turned into a parking lot for the new YMCA, so we were once again homeless. My sister begged her boyfriend to let us move in with him. He hated my father. But he eventually let us move in, but only for a few months. My dad ended up concocting a new plan while we were there. He decided that we should both go to college together and becoming nurses. I was now 20 years old. He's in his 50s. At this point, I only have 2 years of elementary school under my belt. He decides to make up some fake transcripts and a diploma for me, and has me apply for college out in Arizona, and of course apply for loans and grants. The community college there is incredibly cheap, and we'd end up getting a few $1,000s in refunds back from loans and grants each semester, so it would pay for us to live and survive. He also faked some records so I could get in-state tuition. So we move out to Arizona, and now I'm in community college, totally unprepared, and every semester, further indebting myself for another one of my dad's schemes. We do this for 3 years and I fake my way through college, really going nowhere. My dad encourages me to just take a bunch of classes to figure out what I want to do with my life, as long as I stay in full time so I can keep getting money to pay him for rent. My dad also has not taught me how to drive. Now I realize that he did this to keep me dependent on him. While this is happening, my sister loses her job and has a mental breakdown, tries to kill herself, and is hospitalized for a while. She ends up getting on disability for her mental illnesses and is still on disability today. She is worried about me, and comes out to visit me in Arizona. She eventually helps me by buying me a car. I take the car, and teach myself to drive, against my dad's wishes. At this point, I'm 23, she's 25. Within a month of having my driver's license, my sister convinces me to move back in with her and leave my dad in Arizona. Now I see my dad cry for the first time ever. He's begging me not to abandon him. I almost decided to stay, but my sister begged me to move back to Michigan with her. So we did. Immediately after we left, my dad stops paying the bills, which are all in my name by the way. I did not know this, and this ends up ruining my credit. And he moves into his car. Within a month of living with my sister in Indiana, I have a job. Another month and I make some friends at work, and a month later I move in with 3 of them and we all share a house. This is by far the best part of my life. I smoked weed for the first time with my new friends, and it was transcendent. I was having a great time. I'm working full-time, 40 to 50 hours a week, just at Walmart, but I actually loved my job. Every few days, I get emails from my dad, telling me how miserable he is living in his car, and how dangerous it is for him to live there. After 8 months of this, life is going great for me. And my dad shows up at my house in Michigan. He gives me a sob story and convinces me to let him live with me, in my bedroom. He mentions that he wants to kill himself all the time. I reluctantly let him move in with me, but tell him he can only stay for a month, and he needs to go to the homeless shelter. Over the next month, he hates that I'm working full time. It's the holidays and I'm really busy at work. He resents that I'm working and I'm self-sufficient. He sleeps all day while I'm at work and stays up all night in my bedroom on the internet watching movies and videos while I'm trying to sleep. My performance at work starts suffering. I end up getting injured and losing my job at Walmart. I was clumsy because I was sleep deprived. My dad seemed happy that I lost my job. I ended up telling him to leave. I can't handle it anymore. He moves out into the homeless shelter. He's furious at me. I decide to go back to college. I finally found a career that I think I want. I want to be a paramedic. I go down to the local community college and sign up. I take out loans and grants to support myself. A few weeks later I show up for my first class. Guess who's sitting in the front row? Yep. My dad. He wants to be a paramedic now too. This was a miserable semester. It was so fucking embarrassing to be in the class with my dad. I end up passing the EMT portion of the class, the first semester, and I drop out of the paramedic training. I just don't want to be around my dad. Around summer of 2014, my dad asks me for help cleaning out his storage room. I reluctantly oblige and help him. I notice something in the corner of the storage room. It's a locked aluminum box. I've seen it before many times, and always wondered what was in it. While he's doing something in his van, I check out the box. It's actually unlocked, so I open it. Inside is hundreds of pictures, a few hard drives, KY jelly, tissues, and my sister's underwear. I slam it closed, and walk out of the storage room and take off. I left my dad without any explanation. Later that night I felt a horrible pain in my chest. I think I'm dying. I can't breathe. I can barely move. It feels like someone is sitting on my chest. There is crushing pain in the center of my chest and radiating up my face and down my arms. I'm sweating, I'm numb, and cold. I stumble outside and call 911. I tell them I'm dying. I'm having a heart attack. I'm only 24 years old. After being in the hospital for 2 days, and undergoing cardiac stress tests and ultrasounds and everything, they diagnosed me with panic disorder. It was just a panic attack. That's what a panic attack is? I had no idea. This felt real. It couldn't just be in my head, could it? Over the course of the next few months, I have these same events 3 to 4 times per day. I feel like I am absolutely, 100% dying, multiple times per day. My dad is now an EMT with the local ambulance service. If I call 911 again, he might be the one showing up at my door. It takes a few months, but I eventually break down and tell my sister what happened. I tell her what I found 10 years ago, and what I found 10 years later in his storage room. My psyche was not letting me hide this anymore. My sister felt terrible for me, and told me that she knew something was wrong with my dad. She told me he tried to teach her how to masturbate when she was 14, and tried to get her naked multiple times. She decided to confront him. I couldn't bear to look him in the face. I was a coward. I couldn't look at him. I left her to confront this predator alone. She tells me that he told her that he admitted it. He said that he likes incest. He told me he'd get counseling for it. My sister and I decided to cut off contact with him. This was in 2015, and I haven't talked to him since. He's emailed me a few times and told me he got counseling for it and is better now. He told me the counselor said that being attracted to his daughter was normal, and was understandable, because the pain he went through with the divorce? Bullshit. Anyways, after all of this, it basically destroyed me. I couldn't work. I was having panic attacks every day. My sister convinced me to apply for disability. I did, but it would take 2 years for me to get it. We both had nowhere to go. We felt unsafe sharing the town with my dad. We decided to move to the woods in the middle of the country. We found a place that sold empty property with no money down, and we got 5 acres out in the middle of the woods. There was an old abandoned meth cooking shack on it. We found a lot of meth pipes in it. We cleaned it out and moved in. My sister and I lived there for 2 years while we waited for me to get disability. I needed it. I was agoraphobic, still kinda am, and I needed to heal and be away from people. Once I got disability, my sister wanted to move back to live with one of her friends in Indiana. I applied for public housing in the local town closest to me in Missouri. I was approved and have an apartment waiting for me. For the first time, at 28 years old, I'll be living by myself. Rent and utilities is 30% of my disability check. After rent, I'll have $500 to spend per month. After other bills, phone/car insurance, I'll have $400 per month. So here is my situation. I'm in the middle of the country, alone, no job, no friends, no family, no high school diploma, 550 pounds, and on disability. I do not want to stay on disability forever, but I'm not sure where to start building a life. I am very alone, and I've never been completely alone before. I'm scared, and could use advice. Thanks, and sorry for the long post and if it was rambling and confusing. Edit, I got the apartment. Update 1. Taking the GED test in a few weeks, gonna be nice to get that done with. I'm a little depressed right now, honestly. I feel like I'm ready to start my life, but my body and mind isn't there yet. What I really want more than anything is to get a job to have something useful to do every day. Most of my days are just filled with doing nothing. I've got my diet on point now and I've been losing about 5 to 6 pounds a week. But honestly, the diet is easy now. It's not a struggle. I'm really never hungry psychologically anymore. I feel healthy. My blood pressure is finally normal without medication. My health has improved dramatically, but I still have 300 pounds to lose. More than anything, I'm just bored and lonely. Hello everyone. This is my first post here. I've been commenting a little but never posted before. I started seeing my doctor in February when I was 530 pounds. I had already lost 75 pounds at this point, but I'm not sure if he really believed me when I told him. He asked me what my health goals were and I told him I want to lose 100 pounds before I turn 29 in October. He told me, well, that's a lot of weight, and never said much else about it. Today I went in and got weighed at 398 pounds. I beat my goal by 32 pounds in 2 months. When he looked at my chart he said, wow, you did it. I'm really proud of you, keep it up. I honestly teared up as soon as he walked out of the room, because this was the first time I can remember of anyone ever telling me they were proud of me. It's been a struggle and I'm still fighting the 600-pound person inside of me, but it's worth it, and I feel for the first time in my life that I have some control. Every day, he gets weaker, and the new me gets stronger. How I've lost the 200 plus pounds in less than a year, about 66 pounds a day. I started at just counting calories and limiting myself to under 3,800 calories per day. I lost a pound a day for a month. I weighed myself every day, and if the scale stopped moving, I lowered my calories a bit until they did, and the scale would start moving again. I was down to 3,000 calories per day after a month, and I was still losing a pound a day. Then I went to about 2,500, and eventually now I'm at about 1,800 to 2,200 per day. I started intermittent fasting about a month and a half ago. I eat during an 6 to 8 hour window and fast the rest of the day. This has gotten me out of my last plateau, and I really like how it makes me feel during the day. I eat a huge salad every single day, and I mean huge. I use an 8-quart mixing bowl for my salad bowl. I usually eat 2 or 3 heads of lettuce a day, or spinach. Greens are my friend. I am definitely a volume eater. I also eat a ton of beans. Legumes are my main protein source. The more beans I eat, the more weight I seem to lose. I eat lots of fruits. Pretty much any and all kinds of fruits. I don't limit myself on any fruits or vegetables, except avocados. I keep those to 1 per day, max. I have a smoothie every evening, usually with about a quarter pound of kale, some ice, a banana, and some almond milk, and a tablespoon of flax seeds and 2 packets of stevia. It's under 300 calories and it makes about 2 quarts. I think it's delicious too. It keeps me full all night, and I'm not really hungry until about 4 to 5 hours after waking up the next morning. But all of that is just minute. The real way I lost this weight was by being honest with myself and finding a reason, why to live. Nietzsche said he who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow, and this has rung true for me. I've known how to lose weight for years. You consume less calories than you expend. It's basic physics. But it wasn't until I had a good enough why to live that I actually changed my life. It was almost a year ago. I was sitting in an abandoned shed, homeless, nothing to live for, no one that loved me, no friends, nothing. I decided that I was going to kill myself. I was a burden on society and I was worthless. When I decided to kill myself, something changed. I thought, well, if I'm already dead, maybe I should just try as hard as I can to change this if I'm just going to die anyways. When I think back to that day now, my thought process doesn't make that much sense to me now, but I was in a bad place. But in a way, I did die that night. The victim in me died. The person that made excuses died. The person that never gave a shit about anything, and just blamed his troubles on everything around him, died. I had to completely transform who I was, what my self-talk was, the way I carried myself, everything. All of this took time and I didn't change overnight, but what I did do was make that decision to change. The absolute biggest thing was that mindset change. I journal a lot about my weight loss and my life. Writing helps me think, and it lets me see in writing sometimes the faulty logic that I'm running through my head, but I'd never second guess it if I didn't see it written out in front of me. This is absolutely critical for me. When I started my weight loss journey, I wrote about how I got to this weight, and why I weigh 600 pounds, and then I wrote about where I want to be in 5 years. If you want to transform your life, you need a good enough why. A reason that keeps you going in the hardest times when you're tapped out of motivation and willpower. You need to have something to run towards, and something to run away from. For me, I want a family. I want to be a dad. What is what I'm running towards? I want to have someone that loves me as much as I love them. I have daydreams of playing with my kids, and teaching them things my father never taught me. And what I'm running from is being a bedridden 30-something, dying alone in an apartment with no one to even check on me until they smell the death in the hallways. And then no one left to mourn me. No funeral, nothing. Just a dead fat guy that probably took a crane and a few dozen firefighters to remove the body. Every time I feel weak, or depressed, or unmotivated, or feel like quitting, I revisit my journal and it reminds me why I'm fighting this war on my own obesity. And it doesn't matter if I lose a few battles as long as I get back up and keep fighting. This has been the most powerful tool for me and really is the only reason I'm still going today. I highly recommend you start journaling if you're not already. Anyways, I just wanted to share with you guys. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Edit, here is a progress photo. Not sure if this might be considered NSFW, but it shows my gut when I was really fat. Progress pic, I'm in awe of the size of this lad, absolute unit. I still have a long way to go, but I know I'll get there. Edit, I got married. My T was well over 6,000 calories actually. I ate 3,800 calories and lost a pound a day for 60 days. Gonna need at least 6 skin surgeries before my journey is over. Here is what I look like today without a shirt on. There is a lot of loose skin already and there is going to be quite a bit more when I'm done. In 4 years I went from living in the woods, chronically homeless, only income was a $750 per month disability check, to making $100K a year and living my dream. I honestly didn't expect life to be able to get this good for someone like me. Full body pic comparison, deciding to kill myself. Took my shotgun out to the woods and chambered a round and butt the barrel against my chest. Something came over me before I pulled the trigger and I decided to live like I was already dead. If I'm dead, I have nothing left to lose. Might as well try my best to change my life. I told myself if it didn't work out I could always kill myself later. I still kinda have that mindset. I got married about 3 years ago. Got divorced about 3 months ago. Still good friends though. Update 2. 100% man, I was making like $9,000 a year on disability and now I'm making over $100,000 a year. The amount of change in my life in the last 4 years has been absolutely staggering. I'm also dating a lot and just got into a serious relationship with a pretty amazing woman. Never in my wildest dreams did I think my life could get as good as it is now. Now hopefully in a year or two I'll be diced to the socks. Update 3. Well, I honestly never thought I'd be typing this, but life managed to throw me a curveball that somehow feels both surreal and completely on brand for the chaos that's always defined my story. Buckle in, because this update gets strange, but also more hopeful and full than I ever thought possible for me a few years ago. I'll start with the biggest headline. 3 weeks ago, I was interviewed live on local TV. It happened out of nowhere. I've been supporting a couple local weight loss and trauma support groups, and one of the organizers, who I barely knew, but had struck up a couple really honest conversations with, reached out in a panic. She was scheduled for a segment at 6 a.m., but had lost her voice, and the producers wanted someone with a visible story who could be articulate and real. I said yes, largely out of pure impulsive nerves and a weird desire to throw myself into something that scared me, just to keep proving to myself that my old life was really behind me. I honestly barely slept the night before. My mind ran loops of everything that could go wrong. The TV truck picked me up at my tiny apartment, all nerves and coffee jitters, and for 10 minutes I tried to keep it together while a makeup lady did her best to make my skin look normal under the lights. The host was a dude named Chris, kind, bald, energetic. As soon as we started talking, some muscle memory kicked in, and even though my heart was trying to break through my ribcage, I could tell people were listening. We talked about the physical side, sure, the specifics of losing 350 plus pounds, but somehow we ended up talking way more about what happens in your head when you've lost everything, and when you decide to try to change anyway. I mentioned the woods, the shed, that day with the shotgun. I was vague for TV, but didn't pretty it up. Chris asked me what the hardest part was, and it was so honest I didn't have to think about it. Learning how to want things, I said. Like, just being allowed to want a life where it doesn't hurt to wake up every day. Wanting to be someone people would choose. Wanting to live, not just sleepwalk through existing. I thought this would air and disappear into the void, but I was totally, utterly wrong. My email blew up. I got messages from people I hadn't remembered from college, from childhood neighbors, and literally strangers who said my words were the only thing keeping them from giving up. One woman wrote me a 6-page letter about her 20 years battling the same kind of darkness. 2 days later, I was invited to join as a guest speaker on a podcast for trauma survivors. Next Thursday is my 3rd appearance. But the wildest ripple? That TV segment made it to my sister, who I'd slowly, awkwardly been texting with again after years of silence. She saw it by chance on YouTube, because apparently the local news has a channel now, and for the first time in ages, she called. I didn't even recognize her number. She'd changed phones, moved cities, she even sounded different, steadier, somehow. We talked for almost 5 hours that night. We hashed out so much, our dread about the past, what made us leave, where to even begin forgiving ourselves for just trying to survive. We both cried, and laughed so hard I had an asthma attack at one point. It was this feeling like coming alive for the first time in years. We're not magically healed, there's a chasm of weird history between us, and wounds that don't close with one call, but we've started talking every Sunday afternoon, sometimes about nothing. Her cats, weird snacks at Aldi, reruns of kitchen nightmares. Sometimes about things I thought we'd never speak of again, nostalgia and horror at the childhood memories we both left buried for so long. We made a pact. This summer, when she gets her new place together, she wants me to come visit. The last time I saw my sister, I weighed over 500 pounds and could barely fit in her car. Now, I've promised her I'll walk a mile with her, no matter how slow. It's not all clean living and airbrushed moments. If I'm being real, adjusting to success when you're wired for failure feels like an endless juggling act with knives. The imposter syndrome hits like a freight train in the middle of my best days. Sometimes I still have nightmares, and there are mornings where depression and panic ride shotgun with me through the day. After my divorce 6 months back, I spent most of a month barely leaving bed, even as my career was peaking and I was technically living my dream. More than once, I called the suicide hotline, not because I really wanted to die, but because I wanted someone to talk me off the ledge and remind me of who I was trying to become. The truth is, your scars don't vanish once you're no longer bleeding from them. Mine still itch and ache, some days more than others. Case in point, I've started therapy again, this time with someone who specializes in trauma and eating disorders. I'm learning to be less ashamed of the hunger that's always driven me, the literal, overwhelming need for food as comfort, but also the desperate hunger to be accepted, to be good, to be whole. I've stopped calling myself a broken person. My therapist keeps telling me, you built yourself from scratch, broken people don't do that. And in Only Could Happen to Me news, let me tell you about the gym saga. When I started losing weight, I swore I'd never step foot in a gym. Too much bad history with people staring, feeling monstrous, feeling other. But I kept seeing the same middle-aged guy at the farmer's market, always selling peaches, and we struck up this weird friendship. Turns out Leon, that's his name, is a retired high school wrestling coach. After a solid year of chatting once a week while buying fruit, he invited me to his garage gym. I resisted, but eventually caved. Okay, he bribed me with free nectarines. That weird little converted shed with free weights and 80s music has become my sanctuary. I can actually jog now, slowly, awkwardly, but I do it. We grunt through deadlifts while listening to Phil Collins, and I swear I've never felt less judged in my life. I can finally say this, I'm proud of who I'm becoming, not just who I was fighting to not be anymore. I've got a little tribe now, folks who know the gory details and still choose to show up. My doctor wants me to talk to a group of local kids at the youth shelter about resilience and third, fourth, and fifth chances. Me. The dude who used to wish himself dead every morning. I've also started working with one of the weight loss surgeons about the skin surgeries I'll need if I keep this weight off another year. There's talk of fundraising, and I'm not sure how I feel about all that attention, but mostly I can't wait to finally see my own body without the reminders of its battle scars. Dating? Shockingly, I'm not hurting for options. I know, right? Turns out, women see the effort and the vulnerability way more than I ever did. I've been dating someone seriously, a woman who's lived through her own kind of darkness. We're slow burning things, taking it one chapter at a time, but last week, she said she'd never met anyone as ferociously honest as me. I think that's a compliment. I hope it is. So here's where I stand. The shed in the woods is gone, replaced by something so much bigger, inside and out. I'm not just surviving anymore. I laugh every day now, sometimes at dumb TikToks and sometimes at the memory of just how stubbornly I clawed my way back. It is still hard. It is still beautiful. Every so often, I'll catch myself in a store window and do a double take, not at my body, but at my face. I'm still here. Still fighting. Still, unbelievably, looking forward.